child was a child,
it walked with arms hanging,
wanted the stream to be a river and the river a torrent.
and this puddle the sea.
When the child was a child, it didn't know.
It was a child.
Everything for it was filled with life, and all life was one.
Saw the horizon without trying to reach it,
Couldn't rush itself,
and think on command,
was often terribly bored,
and couldn't wait,
past upgrading the moments.
and prayed only with its lips.
When the child was a child,
It didn't have an opinion about a thing,
had no habits,
often sat cross-legged, took off running,
had a cowlick in its hair,
and didn't put on a face when photographed.
When the child was a child,
It was the time of the following questions.
why am I me and why not you?
Why am I here and why not there?
Why did time begin and where does space end?
Isn't what I see and hear and smell?
Just the appearance of the world in front of the world?
Isn't life under the sun just a dream?
Does evil actually exist in people?
Who really are evil?
Why can't it be that I who am,
Wasn't before I was.
and that sometime I, the I am?
No longer will be the I am.
When the child was a child,
It gagged on spinach, on peas, on rice pudding,
and on steamed cauliflower.
and now eats all of it, and not just because it has
When
to.
the child was a child,
It woke up once in a strange bed.
and now time and time again.
Many people seem beautiful to it.
And now not so many, and now only if it's lucky.
It had a precise picture of paradise.
And now I can only vaguely conceive of it at best.
It couldn't imagine nothingness.
And today shudders in the face of it,
Dove for the ball.
which today rolls between its legs.
With its I'm here, it came.
Into the house which now is empty.
When the child was a
It
child,
played with enthusiasm,
and now only with such former concentration.
where its work is concerned.
When the game, task, activity, subject happens to be its work.
When the child was a child,
It was enough to live on apples and bread.
and it's still that way,
When the child was a child, berries fell,
only like berries into its hand.
and still do,
The fresh walnuts made its tongue raw.
and still do.
Atop each mountain it craved,
Yet a higher mountain,
and in each city it craved,
yet a bigger city.
and still does,
Reached for the cherries in the treetop,
as elated as it still is today,
was shy in front of
and
strangers.
still is,
It waited for the first snow.
and still waits that way.
When the child was a
It
child,
waited restlessly each day for the return of the loved one.
and still waits that way.
When the child was a child,
It hurled a stick like a lance into a tree.
and it's still quivering there today. The child was a child, 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 child. The child, the child, when the child, when the child, when the child, the child. And on 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 and on. The sense of wonder upon a highest hill, upon a highest hill. When the child was a child, are you there? Shh, shh. On the highest hill. When the child was a child, 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 was a child,
was a child,
was a child,
was a child,
was a child,
was a child,
was a child,
was a
was a
child,
child, when the child